The heart contracts and relaxes, pumping blood to the rest of the body. If all the blood vessels in a body are connected, it can go around the world. The heart makes a deep bass sound with each contraction and relaxation. Even though I can't hear my own heartbeat, when I put my ear to someone else's chest, it goes thump, 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 tirelessly. I can feel a pretty clear pulse when I put my hand on the thin-skinned part of my neck. You can also feel the pulse at the extremities of the body. Bring the tip of your fingers of both hands together. Touch all 5 fingertips of both of your hands. If you form a mountain with the index fingers of your left and right hands, you can feel the pulse beating in the same rhythm. The limbs have the same rhythmic pulse from the heart to their extremities, even though they are far from the trunk. Therefore, this body is alive. Grandma's cerebral artery swelled and burst like a balloon. The blood that is supposed to bring oxygen to the brain has now nowhere to go. A machine that widens blood vessels in the brain could prolong life. Once the machine that kept her pulse steady was removed, her pulse dropped significantly. But as the ventilator breathed in, the body foolishly sent blood to all parts of the body. To an already failing stomach, liver, and gallbladder. It's been 5 days now, and her pulse remains at 50. 3 days later, she was declared brain dead. She raised 5 children, and every family member, including an aunt living in the USA, gathered in Cheongju. In her record, she had written that she did not want life prolongation care. I went to Cheongju University Hospital knowing I was not allowed to see her. Grandpa has had dementia over 10 years. By then, it has been going on for so long that not only he couldn't remember me, but also he could only remember how his 5 children looked like in the past. Even though Grandpa used to spend more than an hour in the bathroom because he kept forgetting that he washed his face, Grandma refused to send him to the nursing home. It must have been difficult for her to take care of him for 10 years, and for that, she's been a proud woman who always cared about the eyes of others. But there were no records of such bitter stories. A stranger would have never known that he had dementia. Like that, Grandma wanted to allow herself memories only those pretty and nice to her eyes. Who would you be most happy to receive a call? My son. Big Aunt brought my life log from my grandma to let the hospital know her decision about life prolongation treatment. Her records of happy things were filled with so many cliched expressions of gratitude, but nothing about things that made her angry or sad. Bank account information is secret until the day I die, and I want to leave my piano, violin, and writing brush. In the inevitable hour, only 4 relatives were allowed to be by her deathbed. Glances of withholding are among the 5 children. It was the big aunt whom my grandma called when she was collapsing. It was the big aunt who took care of grandma most of the time since everybody else in the family lived in other cities, but she still lived in Cheongju, where she grew up. But when the nurse said that one of the family members should remain outside of the intensive care unit, Big Aunt was the first to say that she had to be the one who stays outside the ICU. Every aunt had reason to stay outside. My uncle also stressed that he should be the one, but aunts anonymously claimed that he must be by the deathbed. Our mom likes you the most. It says that the ear is the last thing to stay open while being unconscious. So, you should be the one who goes inside and thank her. In the end, Big Aunt stayed outside. There was another odd thing in my grandma's log. There were traces of writing behind the photos. We ripped it out to see what was written under it. And there was a statement about her inheritance. The house goes to the first son. I believe I raised my kids well to not have any arguments about it. It is best to have peace inside. Her tone was quite assertive. If she was so sure about it, why did she try to hide it? Used to have tidy handwriting, but only this she scribbled. When does the farewell begin? Big Aunt is pacing at the door of the ICU. The sign says it is a restricted area, but almost half of the time it's just open because there are so many nurses coming and going. She looks inside the ICU through the open door. After a cerebral artery burst, the rest of the brain cannot function without a machine. Giving up life-sustaining treatment means turning off the machines that keep brain's blood vessels running. It's said that turning off the life support machine would lead to medical death in as little as a day and as long as 2 weeks. My family went back to normal days while my grandma was medically surviving. A week later, we drove back to Cheongju to attend the funeral. On the second day of my grandma's funeral, we had a visit from a Buddhist monk in the morning, since she used to be a Buddhist, and the pastor in the afternoon, because my family is Christian. In the morning, the monk brought 4 bodhisattvas and told them he was going to read the Dharma Sutra, which advises the dead to abandon the vanity of the body. The husband of my aunt told me jokingly, "Hey, Jisoo, tell them to stop." "Me?" I responded, and he said, "I will do it when the pastor comes." While the monk was chanting, my mom was quietly reading the Bible. The crematorium where I accompanied my parents when I was young showed live footage of the deceased's coffin burning, and it was shocking to see the family screaming and wailing as they watched it. But they don't do that anymore. It took an hour and a half to cremate, cooling it down, and collecting the bones. Each deceased is assigned one small room. The room has a window with a blind. When the alarm sounded that the bones had been collected, the crematorium staff raised the blind for a brief view of the bones. It was shapeless and too little. I didn't get to see her on her deathbed, and I didn't get to see her at the funeral because I was guarding the money box when all the family went to see her entering the coffin. So, at the moment, for the first time, it hit me that she wasn't there. I suppose the whole process of funeral is to remind the family over and over again that the deceased is no longer there. Big Aunt burst into tears as soon as she saw the bones. The bones behind the wall were taken to a place to grind into ashes. Shall I proceed? The funeral director asked. While we were waiting, my uncle told me that people used to grind them by hand in a mortar. So the more money you gave him, the faster he would grind them, believe it or not. The process was over in less than 30 seconds, which made my uncle's story even more implausible. The ashes were transferred into an urn, and the urn was placed in the hands of the youngest grandson, the youngest member of the family. When the boy received an urn, he wobbled a bit. His uncle asked him, "Is it hot?" "No, it's heavier than I thought," the boy replied. "It can't be heavy. The ash from a handful of bones." Mom said, "Mom is so light and so cold. as she held the skinny body of my grandma, who had weighed just over 40 kilograms when she was alive. The urn is opened and shown to the family one more time before it is placed in the ossuary. My aunt cried even louder than before. How come have you spent your whole life struggling just for this? On the way home, Dad said, I don't know why she was crying that much. Her soul has gone to God's kingdom anyway, so there's no need to be sadder just because you saw the ashes of the body. She has surely gone to the good place, and the rest is a shell, which doesn't matter. I wonder if some feelings and emotions become wrong the moment you put your whole heart into religion. That, of course, is that, I say. The ashes are more than just a shell. They are traces of Grandma's presence in the world. And he just say, it is so. While waiting on the way to the crematorium, a sparrow crashed into the window and fell to the ground. Dad spotted the sparrow first. It's not dead. It's shaking. It must have a concussion, he said. Ah, yes, Dad loves animals. But then the funeral director shouted, let's move. Then everyone went into the crematorium. I followed the others, then turned and ran back to find the sparrow sitting on the driveway. I wondered if it was dead, but when I carefully approached it, it seemed dazed but still alert to me. I put my hand in front of its feet and slowly lifted it, and it sat on my hand. It still looked confused, but it had the strength to stand on its own. I set the sparrow down on a nearby bush. Now I think about it, I should have given him a sip of water. After the ashes were taken to the ossuary, we gathered at my big aunt's house to settle up. We took out all the envelopes of money and divided them into which side of the family they came from. Except for my youngest aunt, who is now in the United States. We took the money out of the envelope, wrote the amount above the name on the envelope, and tied the money into million ones. Grandpa was with us at the time. My family did not bring my grandfather to the funeral. They didn't tell him that his wife has died, only that she had gone to the hospital for a short time and would be back soon. In fact, he didn't seem to realize that someone who was always by his side was missing. He just felt that something was missing. He couldn't even remember if he just washed his face, or what day it was, or whether it was evening or daytime. But he loved to read the sentences in front of him, as he used to read so much. Grandpa's hands were too shaky to write himself, but he still could read the most of what was written in Korean. Mom sat next to Grandpa with a ballpoint pen and notebook. 아빠, 뭐 써줄까? 아빠, 이 옷 너무 잘 어울린다. 김영화는 빨간색이 잘 어울린다. 아빠 이거 읽어봐. 김영화는 빨간색이 잘 어울린다. 아빠 너무 잘 읽네? 그 다음은? 아빠, 어디 살아? 집에 살지. 아빠, 집 좋아해? 응, 좋아하지. 김영화는 집을 좋아한다. 아빠, 이것도 읽어볼래? A whole page is filled with the sentences starting with 김영환은. As my mom counted the money that came to my family, Grandpa read aloud the names on the empty envelopes. 칠성 김영식, rest in peace. 김성국, pastor of Hanul Church, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. My grandfather never asked, "Did someone die?" after reading the sentences "rest in peace" over and over again. When Grandpa is present, the family reminds him of each person's name 10 times a day. Dad, what is my name? Yeah, it was... Dad, I'm your daughter, Kim Hye Kyum. Dad, who is this? Yeah, this is... Dad, this is my daughter Kim Ji-soo. The names will evaporate from his memory within a few seconds. But for the hundredth and thousandth time, he smiles and tells him that my name is Kim Hye Kyum, my husband Kim Hong Jin, and my daughter Kim Ji-soo. Grandpa laughs softly when he doesn't understand something. Most of Grandpa's memories have been lost, but what hasn't is the attitude he's had all his life. When my dad put a sock on his feet, he said, "Oh gosh, I don't have any money right now." My mom said, "Dad, we will bring you home." And he said, "What about you if I go?" "Dad, you are going to sleep at home." "Dad, you have your home." "No, not me. What about you?" "Me? I go home too." Thank God. "Dad, did you worry that I might not have home?" "Of course, everybody needs home." "Are you coming tomorrow?" Grandpa asked. Sure, Dad. I will come back tomorrow. One more night and we can meet again." Which is only partially true.